What's up, guys? Willpower here. Carlos is not able to make it today, so I guess I am hosting. You stuck with me. Sorry about that. Um, Javi should be joining soon. He's having a little technical difficulties. He is restarting his laptop as we speak. We have a good show for you today. We are talking about second base. This is a second base preview. We have top 12 consensus versus my personal rankings, sleepers, breakouts, and busts. So if there's anyone out there that would like to ask any questions while I'm waiting for Javi, now's your time. Um, Season's going to be a little different, guys. The juice ball era is basically done, which is why second base you're not really going to see that many power hitters. As we've seen in the past. 2019, 2021, we saw a lot of power from second basemen. Um, we saw, pretty decent amount of guys that were hitting 25 to 30 home runs. This season, we're probably going to be lucky to see even one that's going to hit 31, and Javi's joining us now. So let's go ahead and add. What's up, dude?
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you still. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What the
Smile and a wave, boys. Smile and wave. All right. Well, while Javi is trying to figure out his microphone connection. So second base, it's been kind of filled with a decent amount of hitters that have had some decent power in their bat and some decent batting average, but it just seems like the juice ball era was the reason for all the home runs that we saw from all these hitters. Guys like Max Muncy, guys like potentially Brandon Lau, as long as his back holds up. Those are the guys that you want to look out if you're looking for power. Marcus Simeon, he's another decent power option. Jose Altuve, obviously those guys are number one and number two. They have a decent power and power speed combination. So those are the guys that you kind of want to focus on in your drafts if you really are looking for a second baseman. And we just lost Javi again, so he's probably going to restart his laptop or at least the program, and hopefully he'll be back soon so we can get the show started. Yeah, like I said, if you guys have any questions or anything fantasy baseball related or even just baseball related, go ahead and just post it. And I will do my best to answer any of your questions. I'm going to log into the Facebook right now on my other laptop so I can see if you guys are saying anything. And hopefully I won't have to log in. Hopefully it's already logged in. Nice. All right. And here it is. All right, Javi. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So I'm old school, guys. I use paper. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and just start with the number one overall player at second base. And it's kind of been fluctuating up and down. We've seen these two guys, whether it's Jose Altuve or Marcus Simeon, kind of go very close to each other. Jose Altuve, when I wrote my notes, he was going at ADP 31 overall, which is, beginning to middle of the third round. So that being said, we have no second baseman going in the first or the second round, pretty much for the reason that I said a couple minutes ago. It's just there's no more power in second base. And with those big power guys, big power options that we could possibly see later in the drafts, you're going to sacrifice a lot of batting average. You're going to sacrifice speed for those type of guys. So Jose Altuve going at ADP 31. He's actually my number one second baseman for this season. I know he's a little bit on the older side, 33 years old. He's a tiny guy, 5'6", 166 pounds. But for being so small, this guy packs a punch. And the only time that I've actually seen him kind of slow down was in the 2020 season when the Astros were kind of going through their little, well, not little, but the scandal, the sign stealing scandal. But towards the end of the season, Jose Altuve kind of started to get back into his own, and he never really looked back since. So we've seen the Jose Altuve of old kind of coming into effect recently again. So that's always good to see. Um, Let me go to ADP real quick. So around Jose Altuve, like I said, there's one thing I should mention is that Mookie Betts does have second base eligibility in a few different leagues. So if you're lucky enough to get Mookie Betts in the first round, I really like that pick. Personally, if I had the first pick of the draft, I know there's other guys that are going ahead of him. Juan Soto, Kyle Tucker. Oh no, I'm sorry. Aaron Judge, Ronald Acuna, Trey Turner. I personally would go Jose Ramirez number one. Just that kind of power speed combo and the consistency in his at bats. I would definitely go Jose Ramirez number one if I had that pick. But today is second base. So looking at Jose Altuve, right after Jose Altuve, you got Francisco Lindor, Spencer Strider, Aaron Nola, and JT Realmuto. So I don't know. Second base is just it's the position in fantasy baseball that has the least amount of value. So if you are going to get a leg up on your competition on all the other guys in your league, it's a good idea to get Jose Altuve or Marcus Semien when you get a chance. And there's Hobby. What's up, man? Let's hear it. Can I hear you? I can't hear you, man. I'm hoping it's not mine. I'm gonna check on Facebook and make sure that I can hear myself too. Oh yeah. All right, I can hear myself. So I'm not sure what's going on. I hope there's nothing that I have to do to
I hope it is.
No, because that mutes your mic. And edit mic settings. Yeah, I don't know, man. Too bad I'm not that tech savvy. You want to try to figure it out, and I'll just keep talking? All right. So Jose Altuve, last season he hit 300. He did bat a little bit over his head. 269 expected batting average. So look to him to hit around 300. I mean, he's always kind of exceeded expectations in the past, or at least the expected batting average. Generally, he's around a 300 hitter, so pretty consistent with that. On base percentage is a 387, so he walks a lot in addition to getting a lot of hits. 920 OPS. So this is the big number that we're looking for here, because Jose Altuve last season hit 28 home runs. And in addition to that, he also got 67 extra base hits. So 67 extra base hits. That's amazing. You're actually getting second round value with a guy like Jose Altuve. There's a lot of guys going ahead of him. So once he does come up in your draft, very good option to go for right there. Exit velocity is down a little bit, 85.9, but you can't really expect too much from a guy that's 5'6". But playing in Houston, he's a right-handed hitter, so he is going to hit towards that short left field porch, which does help him a lot. He does pull the ball. So that's basically the reason why he has so many home runs and 18 stolen bases. You can't shy away from that also. Now with the bigger bases going to be into effect in 2023, you're going to see a lot of stolen base sources, players that are typically not your prototypical base stealers, but 18 for Jose Altuve. I'm not sure how many he was caught stealing last season, but we should see that number increase a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw about 25 stolen bases from Jose Altuve upcoming this season. He's definitely a 25-25 guy with home runs and stolen bases. So that's basically why he's my number one. At number two, we have Marcus Semien. So these guys are kind of going around the same area. Like I said earlier, when I was going through, when I was doing my notes originally, ADP for Marcus Semien is 30. Jose Altuve was 31. I believe that changed a little bit since the last time I looked. So currently, Marcus Semien's at 30 and Jose Altuve is 31. Actually, no, it's perfect. It's exactly the same. So just like Jose Altuve, you're going to see the power speed combination from Marcus Semien as well. Last season, he had 26 home runs and 25 stolen bases. So another 25 guy. Now, the reason why I have Jose Altuve number one versus Marcus Semien is really just the batting average. Other than that, the power speed combo is pretty close. Either one of these guys are a really good option for your for the first two second basemen off the board. Um, the thing with Marcus Semien versus Jose Altuve, Marcus Semien had 724 plate appearances last season versus Jose Altuve that only had 604. So Marcus Semien is a type of guy that he's going to need all those plate appearances, all those at bats to try to compile as many runs, home runs, and RBIs as possible. And hitting in the top of the Texas order, that does help him a lot, especially hitting in front of Corey Seager, Adolis Garcia. So Marcus Semien, he's a decent sized second baseman, 6 foot, 195. He's a little bit on the older side as well. He's 32 years old, kind of similar to Jose Altuve. Really, the only really big differences between these guys that I see is the height and weight advantage that Marcus Semien possibly has. But because Jose Altuve plays in Houston, he has that advantage of that short field also. That short porch in left field.
Hear me.
I still can't hear you, man.
Okay. This is not working.
Yeah, next time you should just come over. We'll do this together. So yeah, that was Marcus Semien. K percentage for both of these guys. You got 14.4 for Jose Altuve. You got Marcus Semien at a 16.6. The launch angle for Marcus Semien is a bit higher, which makes sense because he does play in Texas. So he's going to need to hit the ball a little bit higher than Jose Altuve does. But basically, these guys are about the same. All right. So number 3, we have Jazz Chisholm. So Jazz Chisholm has been riddled with injuries his whole baseball career. Rookie season was in 2020. Everyone's expecting a breakout from this guy. And I'm in the same boat, man. And it's if this guy can just stay healthy, I mean, they picked him to be on the cover of MLB The Show for a reason. He's not just a face. He's not just the face of the Marlins or whatever the reason is that they chose him. This guy has huge potential. In the amount of plate appearances he had, 241 last season, he had 28 extra base hits and 12 stolen bases. So 241, you kind of want to multiply that by like 2.5 or so. So he's going to have about 600 plate appearances at least. We should see about 25 home runs and possibly 20 steals from this guy. So the top 3 second basemen that we have, it's a pretty decent power speed combo. We'll like I said earlier, we'll be lucky to see more than 25 home runs from any second baseman. But if there's anyone that can, I believe that Jazz Chisholm can, just because he's one of the younger guys. He's only 25 years old, going into his 25-year season. The sky's the limit for this guy. Like, top prospect. The Marlins organization really loves this guy. We just really need him to stay healthy. Had a 254 batting average with an expected BA of 242. So we'd like to see that a little bit higher, which is another reason why he's 3 and not 1 and 2. But track record, that's why Jose Altuve and Semien are up there. Exit velocity. Now, this is a big one that I see from this guy is 90.4. And generally from second baseman, you don't really see the exit velocity getting up into the 90s. So, now that the juice ball is gone, this is the type of hitter that you really want to focus on because 90 mile an hour exit velocity on average. I believe his max exit velocity was over 110 miles an hour. So potentially, because this guy is only 25 years old, those extra base hits and those home runs are definitely going to go up. We'll see how his health is for the entirety of the season. Hopefully, this guy can stay healthy, but we say that about everybody. The launch angle is good. The K percentage is pretty high, 27.4. You don't want to see that. He had 66 strikeouts and 241 plate appearances. So over the course of a season, that's kind of roughly about 130 strikeouts. That's a lot. You want to, especially from a second baseman that you're expecting decent batting average from. You want the strikeouts to total no more than close to 200, hopefully under, but that is asking a lot from a guy that's so young. So going on to number 4, we have Ozzy Albies, and Ozzy Albies last year, he was another one that just kind of was just riddled with injuries last season, broke a couple bones early on. He only had 269 plate appearances. 47 Ks, that's pretty decent. His K percentage was at 17.5, so under 20 is pretty good. Launch angle at 16.9. His power side is definitely the from the left, which is really good because most of the starting pitchers and pitchers that he's going to face are usually right-handed pitchers. So when he hits from the left side, it's definitely his best side. So he has more plate appearances from the left side than he does the right. He's also a decent source of stolen bases. He only had 3 last season, but he didn't play much. He's another little guy, 5'8", 165. His current ADP is at 49. I didn't mention before, Jazz Chisholm is at 46. So when you're looking at upside, for future, I definitely see Jazz Chisholm as the guy that could potentially be a first round or second round pick in the future. Ozzy Albies, I think we've already seen him at his ceiling, so I don't really expect too much from him. I don't really expect too much of a bounce back, but he's always been a decent source of batting average and okay at home runs and stolen bases. We're definitely not going to see the magical season that he had when I think it was like 20. I don't know, mid-20s home runs. I think he's more of like a 15 home run guy, especially with the type of balls that they're using now. Moving on to number 5. Now, this one's a little bit different. So the consensus number 5 is Tommy Edman. And I like Tommy Edman, but there's one guy that just he had the biggest injury of all second basemen in the past couple of years, and that's Max Muncy. We saw when towards the end of the season in 2021, he just had that really bad elbow injury when he caught a ball at first base, and it was a throw from third, and then the runner kind of just ran into him, jammed his elbow. Had really bad UCL damage. He never had surgery. He kind of just worked it out. The training staff said that it should be fine. He shouldn't need surgery at all. It took him a long time to try to, finally get right. He wasn't available in the playoffs at all in the 2021 season. And basically the first 4 months of 2022, he was just terrible. His batting average was down in the 180s and 190s. Not really much power, but then towards the end of the season, the last 2 months of the season, we saw the typical Max Muncy that we see every season, which is like a mid 240s batting average with some decent pop, no speed, but when you're hitting as many home runs as this guy can, that's really why the reason why I have him at number 6. And even though the first 4 months of the season were pretty terrible for him, overall he hit 196 with an expected batting average of 208 and 21 home runs. So with those first 4 months that just weren't up to Max Muncy potential, 21 home runs, it's probably going to be closer to 30. I think that if there's any second baseman out there that could hit 30 home runs, it's definitely Max Muncy. Um, I would definitely call this guy my comeback player of the year. I don't see any signs of him slowing down. Skill wise, I think it was just the injury that put him back so far last season. Exit velocity at 90.3. That was just on average throughout the season, and just like I said, with the injury, that's probably going to go up as well now that he's feeling so good. He actually was on a Dodgers podcast recently, and he said that his elbow's feeling great. That between 2021 and in the 2022 offseason, he actually had to just rest and relax. He couldn't do any workouts at all, and it wasn't until spring training of 2022 that he actually started to, get out there and do some workouts and try to get in shape in a very short amount of time. So now, he's the type of hitter that's going to work hard in the off season. And I think in 2023, he's going to be, the Max Muncy of old, hitting close to 250 with 30 home runs. So look to him in categories leagues and points leagues, whatever. This guy is definitely a points league specialist because he walks so damn much. This guy doesn't strike out that often, and the walks are just insane. Guys like him and Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, those are the points league specialists that I'm talking about, that are going to walk a lot. They're going to get on base. They're going to score a lot of runs. So, and also with that power, you're going to see a lot of RBI as well in that Dodger lineup, middle of the Dodger lineup. So his ADP is actually at 134. The consensus number 5, Tommy Edmonds, at 80. So I have Max Muncy ahead of Tommy Edman. I know a lot of other people don't out there, but I really think it's just because of the injury from last season. So after Max Muncy at number 6, I have Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman, this is where that man strength starts to come into play. 27 years old, going into his age 27 season. These are the guys that I like to target in the draft. Even though I have Max Muncy a little bit ahead of him, Tommy Edman is not, a bad option. He's a stolen base specialist. Last season, he had 32 stolen bases with 13 home runs. But with that man strength coming, I really feel like we could possibly see a little bit closer to 20 home runs, possibly, 17, 18 home runs, and about the same stolen bases. So a 20-30 guy is a really good option, especially at his ADP of 80. I think he's a little bit too early in drafts. I think I would take him closer to maybe like 90. One round later. There's so many other guys that are going around him. He's at ADP 80. So after him, you have Jose Abreu, rookie coming into this season, Corbin Carroll, Brian Reynolds, Wander Franco, Byron Buxton, Tristan McKenzie, Robbie Ray. So Tommy Edman, honestly, I see Jose Abreu right there. If I'm in the middle of my draft and I see those two guys, if I don't have a first baseman yet, I'm probably going with Jose Abreu. I much prefer Jose Abreu versus Tommy Edman. I just look at track record, and I know that Jose Abreu is just going to do so much better this season than he did last year. New ballpark. He already knows what he has to fix, and Houston is really good at bringing out the best in all of their players. So Tommy Edman, 27 years old, current ADP is 80. Batting average last season was 265. Expected was 258. So expect him to have close to like a 260, 270 batting average. His K percentage is at 17.6, and like I said, under 20% is always good. 111 strikeouts in 630 plate appearances. So his plate discipline is pretty decent. Only 46 walks. So it looks like he puts the ball in play a lot. I'm interested to see what his BABIP is, but I don't have that in front of me. So moving on to number 7. So originally I had number 7 and number 8 switched, but later on when I was, going through and just looking at all their stats, I actually switched it up. So the consensus number 7, there it is Andres Jimenez. Well, actually, it's a consensus number 6 because I have Max Muncy so high. So I honestly, I see this. Current ADP is 85. I really don't understand this, man. I don't even have him on the same sheet because I don't like him. All right, 24 years old, 5'11", 161. Plays for the Guardians, drafted by the Mets. He had his rookie season with the Mets in 2020. His ADP is at 85. Had 557 plate appearances last season, so he definitely played a whole season last year. Only 66 runs and 69 RBI. I don't know where he hit in the order, but I'm assuming with those type of numbers, he probably hit in the bottom. 17 home runs and 20 stolen bases. That's probably the reason why he's going so early. With a 297 batting average, but his expected batting average is only a 257. And, looking at this guy, seeing his build and the type of player that he's been throughout his major league and minor league career, I really think that we saw the best of Andres Jimenez last season. And this is actually my pick for a bust. I actually have him at my number 12 second baseman, and consensus has him at number 6. So that's how far apart we are on that one. I don't understand how Andres Jimenez can go first before Max Muncy. That just kind of like kind of hit me kind of hard once I saw that. But slug percentage is 466. His exit velo is 87.8. So that's pretty typical from a second baseman. K percentage is at 20.1. So it's kind of at that threshold where, that we don't want it to go any higher than that. And, being so young, maybe they'll figure him out. He's definitely very pull heavy. He pulls the ball a lot, which could explain why his expected batting average is so low. A lot of line drive hits to the left side of the field, on the line. Yeah, I think that's basically it for Andres Jimenez. So I'm going to go back to my rankings, and at my number 7, who's the consensus number 9, I have Brandon Lau. Now, Brandon Lau, 2 years ago, he hit, where is it at? 39 home runs. In 2021, he hit 39 home runs. Now, that was still the juice ball season in 2021, but 39 home runs. This guy could easily hit 25 to 30 this season. He only had 8 last season, but he also played a partial season. Now, this is the big thing with Brandon Lau is his back. He had multiple back injuries last season, only had 266 plate appearances. So we've seen with guys like Christian Yelich that a back issue is very scary. Christian Yelich was an MVP back in 2018, something like that. So 5 years ago, and he just hasn't been the same ever since because of that back injury. Same thing with Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw was Cy Young contender every season. He was close to MVP every season. And, he had that back injury from that flight back from Japan, and he just hasn't been the same ever since either. It could be a multiple things, maybe not just the back injury, but, the back injury is not anything to just kind of like push to the side. It's a pretty significant injury. So hopefully this guy can, get back, get right. And if the back holds up, I could definitely see another 30 home run season from this guy. Not really too big on the stolen bases, but you don't really need that much speed when you have that much power. Batting average was 221 last season, which is pretty low. Expected at 237, but the season before, in the 2021 season, he batted 247 with a 249 expected BA. So look to this guy to be closer to about 250 batting average. He's actually very similar to Max Muncy. I think that Muncy I have ahead of this guy only because of the lineup that he's in. The Dodgers lineup is just so much better than the Rays lineup. Exit velocity is 89.4. It's right at that threshold that we kind of want to see, the 90 mile an hour and above. So I see a message from Javi now that he doesn't know what's going on with his laptop. So I'm assuming that he's probably not going to join the show, which kind of sucks because I don't like doing this by myself. But you know what? I want to give as much information to you guys as I can. So I'm here. All right, so Brandon Lau. Brandon Lau is actually going to be my comeback player of the year. Brandon Lau and Max Muncy are both my comeback players. It was really hard to just choose one, so let's just go with both of those guys. Brandon Lau, his ADP is actually 152. So 152, and Max Muncy was 134. So if you can get either one of those guys later on in your draft, good job to you. So if you do miss out on those top three second basemen that we were talking about, Jose Altuve, Marcus Semien, and Jazz Chisholm, I would honestly rather wait and skip those guys in the middle and go for either Max Muncy or Brandon Lau. And after Andres Jimenez, the consensus number 6, we have Gleyber Torres, who is my number 8. His ADP is currently at 117. He's kind of a big dude for second baseman. He used to be a shortstop. They moved him over to second base. He's 6'1", 205. Last season, we actually saw a pretty decent uptick in a lot of areas. He had 24 home runs in 572 plate appearances, 129 strikeouts, 22.6 strikeout rate. That's a little high, but he's always been that kind of hitter, his entire career. I think the thing that hurts him the most is he was awesome against the Orioles. And, that was like a big story back then. He just, every time he would go to the Orioles Stadium, I forget what it's, Camden Yards, he would just be hitting balls out left and right. I think he had like a 3-homer game a couple times, 5 home runs in one weekend. But now that they extended left field, it's going to be a little bit harder to hit home runs out, which is why Ryan Mountcastle, dropped in value a little bit also. But Gleyber Torres, he's still in an amazing lineup. He's on the Yankees. 257 batting average last year with a 244 expected batting average. So close to 250. That's pretty typical with his career also. The exit velocity, just like with Max Muncy and Brandon Lau, he's at that 90.4 exit velocity, 90.4 miles per hour. So he hits the ball extremely hard, especially for a second baseman. 24 home runs, that seems kind of low for someone that hits the ball that hard. I think that he has the potential to be able to hit 30 home runs as well, and he's been in the league for a decent amount of time, but he's still really young. He's only 26 years old. So give him another season or two to get in those man strength years, the 27, 28, 29 years. And we could see, a possible power surge from this guy. Moving on to number 9. All right, so the consensus number 8 is Max Muncy. We already talked about him. And then 10 is Brandon Lau. Already talked about him. Number 11 is, number 9. Sorry, I keep on forgetting that they have Mookie Betts listed as a second baseman. I don't really like to put him in the rankings since he's, majority an outfielder. He does have second base eligibility in certain leagues. I know Yahoo for sure. Not sure what other sites. So Jorge, Yeah, Jorge Polanco at number 10. I actually have Jorge Polanco at number 9. 29 years old, 5'11", 208 pounds. So he's the decent sized dude. Last season, he had 445 plate appearances, so most likely had an injury with 16 home runs. But it was a couple seasons ago, I think in 2021, he had like 30 something home runs. So that was a juice ball era. I understand that. But going from 30 mid 30s home runs down to 16 home runs within a year, I don't see that happening again. I think that he's potentially about a 25 homer guy. Not a lot of speed, but batting average was 235 last season. We're kind of getting into like the nitty gritty at the bottom of the second basemans right here. Jorge Polanco, once you see this guy in your draft, you gotta understand that there's not really a lot of options at second base coming up. So if you're willing to wait for a guy like Max Muncy um, or Brandon Lau, then great. Those guys have the comeback potential. But if you want to play it a little bit safer, Jorge Polanco is your guy. Exit velocity at 89 miles an hour, so that's right at that kind of benchmark that we want to see. Launch angle looks really good, 21.7. So this guy should definitely be hitting a lot more home runs. Um, K percentage at 21.3. It's a little higher than we want to see, but that's okay. As long as he can, hit the 25 home runs that I'm expecting from this guy, I'll take the strikeouts with that. Moving on to the consensus number 11 and my number 10 is Jake Cronenworth. Jake Cronenworth broke out into the league a little bit late in the 2020 season, so he's only been in the league for 3 years now. He was a 26-year-old rookie. He's 6 foot, 187. Current ADP is 165. Batting average last year was 239, so I'd like to see that up a little bit, but he has a lot of potential. 17 home runs last year. Looks like his 2021 and 2022 seasons were pretty identical, other than slugging percentage. His slug last year was 390. In 2022, in 2021, it was 460. So this guy kind of like lived off the juice ball. That was the whole Slam Diego season that we saw a couple years ago. So he's a decent fallback option when there's nothing really else out there. Currently at 163. I'm going to see who else goes around him. Okay, Jake Cronenworth. So after Jake Cronenworth, you have Charlie Morton, Whit Merrifield, Vaughn Grissom. So you actually have two other second basemen that are only going 2 and 3 spots behind Jake Cronenworth, which is Whit Merrifield and Vaughn Grissom. Looking at those three guys, if I'm in my draft and I see Cronenworth, Whit Merrifield, and Vaughn Grissom, if you're looking for upside, you definitely want to go Vaughn Grissom. I see, a lot of potential in this guy, and so do the Braves. Obviously, they let Dansby Swanson walk, let him sign with the Cubs, and now they're starting, or they're saying that Vaughn Grissom is going to be their starting second baseman for the 2023 season. We don't know where he's going to hit in the order because we saw Dansby Swanson hitting, second or third most of the time last season and seasons before. This guy's probably going to be closer to the bottom for now, 6, 7 maybe. But if he definitely has the type of potential where he could have some breakout season and move up in the order. Freddie Freeman's gone, and now that Dansby Swanson's gone, that definitely leaves a hole at number 2 and number 3 in the lineup. So Vaughn Grissom, hopefully he can break out, and we can see him, have Rookie of the Year, votes, and that I think he would be one of the top rated rookies for this season. He was a top prospect. So if you're looking for upside, definitely go with Vaughn Grissom. But if you want to try to play it a little bit safer, Jake Cronenworth is fine. Okay, let's go back to second base. All right. So, like I said, Whit Merrifield going right behind Jake Cronenworth. So, Whit Merrifield is the consensus number 12. I don't have him at number 12. I think he's going to be a bust. He's not my pick for the bust. I think that Andres Jimenez is actually going to be a big bust this year. He's actually my number 12 second baseman, and the consensus has him at number 6. So you can see how far apart we are. I much prefer Max Muncy over Andres Jimenez. I think anyone that drafts on Andres Jimenez, unless you're in a dynasty league or a keeper league and you're planning on keeping this guy for a long time just to see what kind of potential he can do, I think he's going to be one of the biggest busts of any position. So we already talked about all the consensus. So my number 11 is Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil is a little bit on the older side. He's on the wrong side of 30 now. He actually is 30 years old, but he's a decent sized dude, 6'1", 195. Doesn't really have a lot of pop in his bat, but I feel like there's not much that he would have to change to be able to get those power numbers up. 9 home runs last season, only 4 stolen bases last season, but a 326 batting average. So his expected batting average was 280, which is not very high, but there's a lot of guys that the expected batting average just doesn't really play out in their actual like play. So I actually prefer Jeff McNeil over Whit Merrifield, over possible comeback player Jonathan India. Jeff McNeil is actually at ADP 183, which is it's pretty up there. So this is the type of guy that you can wait on. I feel like at his K percentage of 10.4, only had 61 strikeouts and 589 plate appearances. Points leagues. Okay, so I actually should point this out. Jeff McNeil, he's my number 11 in points leagues. In categories leagues, I definitely wouldn't be drafting this guy. 73 runs, 9 home runs, 62 RBI with 4 stolen bases last season. So if you're playing in categories or roto, I would definitely hold off on this guy. But looking at my number 12, Andres Jimenez, who had 17 home runs and 20 stolen bases with a 297 batting average. Like I said earlier, I think that's his ceiling. I don't think we're going to see any better from this guy, even though this guy is only 24 years old. I just feel like this is the type of player that people are just not going to be satisfied with. They're going to expect a lot from him, and it's just not going to be there. I think pitchers are just going to figure him out. Had somewhat of a breakout season last year, but I prefer the veteran in Jeff McNeil. Gets on base a lot, and let's see, his on base percentage was a 382, and slug's not so bad either, 454 last season. Exit velocity is low, launch angle is low, but the K percentage is low as well. So, it's a give and take. Second base is not loaded like we've seen in the past few seasons. So that's basically it. I went through all 12 of my top 12, gave you a breakout, a bust, and the sleeper. My sleeper is actually going to be. So I'm going to say my comeback player is Max Muncy, and my sleeper is Brandon Lau. The reason why I'm saying Max Muncy as my comeback player is because he's been in the league a little bit longer, and this is the type of guy that you want to see the consistency come back, where Brandon Lau just had that one amazing season. And I think that it's possible to have something similar to that again, but only time will tell. I know you guys are doing your draft soon, so if you guys have any questions, whether it's about drafts or just anything in fantasy baseball in general, you can email us at realtalkbaseball@yahoo.com. You can go to our Instagram page, Real Talk Baseball, or our Facebook page, Real Talk Baseball. You can send us messages on there, And now that the baseball season is coming up pretty soon, I'm more active on the Instagram and Facebook now. I wasn't really so much in the off season. I was enjoying the time with the family and playing some disc golf and just living life. But baseball season's back. I'm excited. I'm here to help you guys, and thank you for tuning into the show. And next week we will have the third base preview for you. So top 12 third basemen, my rankings versus ADP, and sleepers, breakouts, and busts. Hopefully Carlos and Javi will be back next week. And if not, I should be here for you guys. I got to check my days off, but yes, I will try to be here next Friday. If not next Friday, then most likely Saturday. That's the end of the show. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to us on our email, Instagram, or Facebook. And this is Willpower signing out. Thank you, guys.